Katia, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, hold on, I can't hear you. Just give me just a second.
Oh, let me see if I have a mic. Oh yeah, it says I'm speaking. So they turned it on.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, and you can see everything okay?
Yeah, perfect.
All right, perfect. All right, then I'm gonna mute myself again.
Okay, see you later.
We should do the same.
Micah. Hi, Mike.
Hey, everyone.
We have a few minutes here to go according to my clock. Can you hear Frankie snoring, or is it good? Okay. If it gets really loud, someone shoot me a little message on here. Oh. Hey, Ronnie, Kate's just waiting to be made a panelist. There we go. All right. It is now 6 o'clock. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Mike, you want to do roll call?
Sure thing. Counselor Manellis,
Here.
Counselor Petrie,
Here.
Counselor Thompson, not here yet. I see.
He's
Counselor
gonna be
Moore,
giving us-
Present.
Counselor Ocholi,
Yeah, good evening all.
good evening. President Paulson.
Here.
And Mayor Fender.
Here,
All right, so we have 6 at least.
we have Shauna
Okay.
logging
Shauna
on.
just jumped on.
There's Sean. I'll go ahead and mark you here, Shauna.
Were you just doing roll call?
Yeah.
Here.
All right. All present accounted for.
All right, thank you. So now we move on to the approval of the minutes. We have minutes from February 16th, 2022, which was attached to the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes for the February 16, 2022 City Council meeting.
Okay, has everyone had a chance to look at them? Any discussion? Hearing none, then do we have a second on the motion?
A second.
Go good. Got it. Okay.
All right. That it was distracting to me, but anyway, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes, raise your hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7.
All right. The minutes are approved. All right, we have no special presentation. Is that correct, Mike?
The only presentation that we really have is we have Kristen here from Pride to talk about solid waste. But I think we have that listed later.
That's on down. Okay, that's down further. Okay.
Not a presentation, that's a discussion and new business.
All right.
Okay, so we will move on then. We have no special presentation. We'll move on to open forum. At this time, the council will be happy to receive your comments pertaining to items on the agenda, including questions, suggestions, complaints, and items for future. Each person's time will be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone who wishes to speak this evening? We'll give it a minute because this always takes a while. I see one hand up for Viva Gaylor.
All right, for anybody that's on the attendee side, you need to raise your digital hand.
You have Viva that has a hand up.
Bottom of your screen. I only have one, so we're going to start with Viva. Viva, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ronnie. Good evening, council members. This evening, I'm going to talk about shredded waste before Kristen gets to solid waste. We have scheduled a day, April 30th, the last Saturday, for a shred day in King City. And it will be a canned food drive. So people that drop off shred, we will be asking them to donate canned foods. For that, I have organized and just updated the website and haven't sent out anything else yet for a volunteer recruitment day, April 6th, because the King City Community Foundation is planning to have a parade. Again, the last Saturday in August, not only do a shred, but the dumpster day and recycle day. And we wanted to have more recycle because lots of good stuff went in the dumpster that we think we could have found a home for. And then we also would like to do a mayor's golf tournament in the fall. Pick that up again. We have put both, and did I say the parade? 4th of July parade. Again, 2 events that we had postponed during the pandemic and hope that we can have them now. And we need to gather volunteers to get the ball rolling. I don't think I went over 3 minutes. I'm done.
You did not, Viva, for the record, put your address on the record for us.
Oh, yes, I screwed up. 12700 Southwest Beef Bend Road, King City.
Thank you so much.
And let me put the other address out there.
Perfect.
This would be kccforegon.org. That is where you can sign up and see information about our upcoming events. And that is the notice that Ronnie's going to help by posting it on the City Hall. So there'll be a link to the Zoom meeting on April 6th. And thank you.
Wonderful. So as I always like to make it transparent and clear, everyone is aware that I was the founder and the president of the King City Community Foundation. I am no longer. I applaud the continued efforts of the foundation greatly, but I will recuse myself of any ask that the foundation comes to City Hall just for the good of the order. But Viva, it didn't sound like the foundation was asking for anything rather than just informing us of those dates. I'm very excited to see some events start happening back again in our community, as I think it's desperately needed. And as mayor, I hope to be invited to the mayoral golf tournament. So I very much applaud the efforts of the foundation and its continued. Does anyone have any questions for Viva? I know we don't really do questions in open forum, but I guess we can push those to later if there are questions, or Viva can, everyone knows how to get a hold of Viva. If you don't know how to get a hold of Viva, you can get a hold of me and I will put you in touch with Viva. So anyway, all right. Any other requests for open forum, Ronnie?
I do not at this moment. I don't see any other hands. I see other people that I'm not familiar with. I see a Barbara, Susan. Are you guys interested in talking or anything? Just go ahead and raise your hand, the virtual hand. That is on the bottom of your screen. It says raise hand. Viva does have something to say, so let me pull her back.
We'll give her extra time since she didn't go over.
I also wanted to say that same website is where anyone under 5, or any of you that know somebody that's under 5. And Lori, this is kind of directed at you. I don't think many of the grandparents have taken advantage of the Dolly Parton Library that we have in King City. So I'm not asking for anything. I am promoting for our kids to have more books in their hands, and they have it available, and it is funded by a nice donation from a community member. Now I'll say goodbye. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Viva.
Viva.
So King City is an Imagination Library participant. So all kids in King City, ages 0 to 5, get a free book sent to them. And it is open to the KCCA and other age-restricted HOAs in King City. And you don't have to have your grandkids living with you. So for all of those grandparents that have kids that visit once in a while, we highly encourage you to sign up as well. Or I should say the foundation highly encourages it. See, eventually it will come out. All right, moving on to new business. Thank you, Kristen, for bearing with us on being on the agenda. We have no unfinished business, so we'll move straight to Pride, who is going to kind of give us an overview of their current recycling efforts, and there we are. Pass it on to Kristen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Fender and City Council. Thanks for having me tonight. I'm Kristen Leichner, and I'm the president of Pride Disposal and Recycling Company, your franchised service provider. Before I get into the comments I wanted to make, I just wanted to share with Viva as well, kind of related to those events. We do have a reuse organization that's based out of Portland that does kind of some salvaging of materials. They work with Metro at the transfer stations to pull stuff out that people are dropping off to throw away, and then they fix it up and repurpose it and then sell it at their store in Portland. So I will have my assistant Viva reach out to you, and maybe we can make that connection. So the dumpster day you're talking about, we could perhaps have them come out and be there. So then if there's stuff that people are getting rid of that could have another life, we can extend it. So I will follow up, but I just wanted to share that as well. So I will now get into what I'm actually here to talk about tonight. So thank you. For a little bit of history, we, Pride, have been discussing a potential expanded recycling program with Washington County staff for a little bit over a year. And we're very close to getting a program going and running, hopefully by this summer, for unincorporated Washington County residents. And because we've been discussing and working out those details with Washington County staff, our intention was to kind of finish working out the kinks with them, have a full fleshed out program, and then come to King City and the other cities we work with once we have all those details worked out. Washington County they have a lot of resources. They have rate consultants that they bring in, that they contract with to help kind of evaluate the costs of programs like this. And so that's part of why we wanted to kind of get that legwork out of the way and then be able to come to you all with a more prepared program. So I am hoping to have something to bring to you this summer. But until then, I'll kind of let you know where we're at and with Washington County, which is a very similar program that we would intend to bring forward to King City. And then I'll be happy to answer any questions that folks may have. So back in November of 2021, we started collecting batteries curbside in King City as part of the glass recycling program. So customers were notified that they can start putting batteries out along with their red bin on their scheduled glass day. So customers can put out up to a 1-quart Ziploc bag of household batteries. So no car batteries or lead acid batteries, but alkaline batteries, lithium ion batteries, laptop batteries, those sorts of materials can go into that 1-quart bag, and it can go out as frequently as the glass does. And we did that for no additional charge. It was a pretty relatively easy thing for us to do. And it's also really important for us to get the batteries out of the waste stream, whether they're in the garbage or they mistakenly end up in the recycling. They can be a big fire hazard, both for while that material is inside of our trucks or when the material is dropped off at a recycling facility or a transfer station. Batteries are one of the most common causes of fires in the waste and recycling system. So it's kind of a win-win to be able to recycle those materials as well as get them out of the wrong waste stream. So we did that kind of as a preliminary first step to expand recycling options. And then the other hard to recycling materials and a potential program for that just takes a little bit more planning and program design, because it would be another receptacle, either modifying our glass trucks to be able to add separate compartments to that for those other materials, or potentially an additional truck depending on kind of what volume of customer participation we get. So I'll kind of run through what we have currently proposed to Washington County and where we are in that process with them. So Washington County has a garbage and recycling advisory committee that they send program changes or rate reviews to, and they do that before it goes to the Board of Commissioners. And so that the new program went to them last week on the 10th, and they did vote in favor of basically recommending that the board adopt the new program as designed by the haulers. And there are 9 different garbage companies in Washington County, so we all work together with staff to develop this program. And the Board of Commissioners will take a look at this at a work session and then a board meeting in April, and hopefully will vote favorably to move the program forward at the end of April. I think it's their last meeting in April that it's currently scheduled for. And then if they approve it, then the plan would be to add batteries in Washington County starting May 1st. So essentially immediately after they approve it, and then have the full-blown program start July 1st. And the delay is really just a chance to get us time to order the receptacles that we need to get. And we can't order the receptacles until we get the green light to start the program. And we've heard from we should double check on that based on how supply chains have changed, but we've heard that we should be able to get containers in 4 to 6 weeks. And so that just gives us a little bit of a buffer period to hopefully have them all in place so we can get the program going July 1st. And what the program is intended to look like, if it goes through as it's currently proposed, is it would be a subscription service, which means it's not a program that's rolled out to every single customer in unincorporated Washington County. It's a program that people can sign up for if they would like to pay a little bit extra to have those harder to recycle items collected. It is going to be an on-call program, which means it's not picked up automatically. The customer would need to schedule the service online or via phone call. And the maximum frequency they could have it would be every other week. So it will essentially, for us, how we would do it right now, we're planning on modifying our glass trucks. So it would be available to schedule on the same schedule as your glass recycling. So if your glass is every other week on what we call the green week, then you could schedule a hard to recycle pickup on any green week that your glass would normally be picked up. Or if it's a pink week, it could be done on any of those pink weeks that your glass is picked up. And the rates that we currently have proposed in Washington County, the customers would pay a flat monthly fee of $2.50 to have the service. That covers the cost of the receptacle being at their home, and covers, some basic admin fees to get customers set up and to manage the program. And then each time a pickup is scheduled, it would be a flat fee of $9.25. And Washington County has done some surveying of their customers to figure out what is the right frequency for this service. And most customers that filled out the survey felt that once a month would be the maximum amount of time that they would need it, because they don't generate enough material to request a pickup more often than that. So if that holds true to anybody who would subscribe, the most a customer would pay in a month would be $11.75 if they scheduled the pickup once each month. If they scheduled it more, it would be an additional $9.25. So you keep that $2.50 flat fee every month, and then $9.25 per pickup. And the materials that we are intending to collect there are, number one, PET thermoforms, which is recycling speak for clamshell plastics that have a number 1 on them, or any other number 1 plastic that isn't a normal water bottle, soda bottle. That's what your normal PET plastic. So it could be other shapes besides just the clamshell, but it's PET thermoforms is what they're called. And obviously there needs to be some clear education for customers around what those materials are. But the big one that people want are the clamshells. And then it would also include compact fluorescent light bulbs. So not the tubes, but the actual, ones you would screw into a normal light bulb at your home. Textiles, which is essentially clothing and shoes. And the education piece on that is it's not stuff that you would otherwise donate for resale that is still in good shape. It's truly the things like, your old towel that has holes in it that, you now use to wash your car, but even that it's maybe a little bit too far gone and it's time to, throw it away. But this is a recycling program for it. And then the last material would be film plastics, which are plastic grocery bags, the plastic wrap you get around your toilet paper, your paper towels, things like that. Any film plastic that basically you can poke your finger through. It wouldn't be things like chip bags that have, that metal to them. And those are turned into Trex decking. Trex is the company that we're working with to handle those materials. And the container we're looking at for these materials is similar to the red bins that we use for glass, but it will come with a snap-on lid, kind of like a Rubbermaid tote you would buy at the store. In fact, you can see some stacked behind me as I was doing some organizing this weekend. But that is to keep the materials dry, because the textiles and the film plastics especially need to be kept dry. So that is why it would come with a lid. And then the other piece of the program in the county is that we, the hauler, would provide clear plastic bags for customers for most of the materials. So customers would receive 5 to 7 gallon bags for this materials to be sorted. The one exception to that would be the compact fluorescent bulbs. Customers would just use a gallon Ziploc bag to put those in at the curb, because we don't want 5 gallons of those at a time. And then ultimately, since each jurisdiction has the control of their own local programs, I'm giving you an example of what, kind of the path forward is in Washington County, but King City has the, it's up to all of you what you want to do. If you want to model something after what Washington County is doing, we're happy to do that. And like I said, some of that legwork is already done. If you want to do something totally different, we are open to that conversation as well. You all have the power to direct us for the services you'd like for your community. So that is the gist of my presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions that anybody may have.
Nope. Thank you. Sorry. So I think one thing that has been clear, especially, right, there's no sense in hiding the elephant in the room, right, is that Ridwell and kind of Ridwell coming into the kind of metro region, all this discussion about that, we're getting a lot of people interested. I think what the big takeaway from the conversation is that people want easy, accessible, from home recycling of their hard to recycle materials. And that that's just loud and clear, right? So I really appreciate that, that you guys are looking into expanding that and getting it up and running. I'll turn it over to others. Does anyone have any questions? Kate?
Yeah, Kate does.
Hi, Kristen. Thanks for being here tonight. You mentioned what is happening with the plastic film. I might have missed what's happening with the clamshells and the clothing.
Yeah, so the textiles are going to a company in Northeast Portland called Pioneer Wiping Cloth, I believe is their name. And they essentially take those textiles and turn them into, wiping cloths, for lack of a better term. So, repurposing them for essentially something you might use to dry your car off after you've washed it and things like that. And then the compact fluorescent light bulbs, we've been taking those at our recycling depot for quite some time. And we work with an organization called Universal Recycling Technologies that is in Clackamas County. And they take those and handle them responsibly. I can't speak specifically to how they recycle them because I just honestly don't understand it. But I could certainly get more information for you if you would like it on that. And then the PET thermoforms, to be honest, this one is a little bit hard because, and I'm going to get a little bit wonky in my recycling talk, so feel free to tell me it's too much. But the PET plastics, the standard water bottles, soda bottles, those are highly recyclable, and there's really strong markets for those. My understanding from conversations is that the PET clamshells, it's just a lower quality PET plastic. And so there is a market for that material to kind of be mixed in with the high quality PET plastic and made into the same products that those materials are made into. But it's, probably a 15% threshold. And so essentially they're being turned into the same materials that a PET plastic bottle would be turned into. But in theory, if the entire country started recycling PET thermoforms and clamshells, that market might go away because there's only a certain amount of material realistically that they can market because of the threshold. Otherwise, it just degrades the quality of the materials that they're making. So there's one company on the West Coast that is taking these materials right now. Down in California is where they end up. And I'm blanking on the name. It's green something, but off the top of my head, I can't remember it, but that is what is happening to those. And one of the other things I should mention about the markets is that Washington County is designing this program to be very flexible. So if a market for one of these materials goes away, they will have quick flexibility to take that material off the list, educate customers as to why, or if there's a new material that we want to be able to add to the list, we can add things more easily than we can to the standard mixed recycling everybody's used to.
Thank you. I actually wasn't aware of the batteries. How are we putting those out for you? How are we putting them out with the glass?
So we put out notifications and customer invoices originally, but if you're doing online bill pay, then
So I mean,
sometimes-
literally, how do I put my batteries out?
Oh, I see. So you would put it out in a 1-quart Ziploc bag. So same style bag you would bring your liquids to at the airport. And you can fill one of those bags as long as it zips closed, and we will pick that up. We do ask that for the rechargeable batteries that you tape the ends, because if they do, connect, they can cause sparks, but in the small volume in the bags, it's pretty low risk. But that's ultimately how they have to be handled once we receive them to transport them. So the more we can do that early on, the better.
Thank you. And what do you do with the plastic bags?
The plastic bags will be baled, and then we will work with Trex Decking for them to, they have a facility, the closest one is in Arizona. And then that material is turned into the composite plastic decking. So it's the wood alternative for, a backyard deck.
Very cool. Thank you. I didn't realize that regular Ziploc bags were counted in that category too.
Yeah. So all those plastics we're talking about that would like hold the
Right,
textiles, hold the materials. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Micah?
Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to ask a quick question. You mentioned the number 1 clamshells. What about number 6, which is also often used? Is that going to be included as well?
Not in the initial program. Right now, so number 6 clamshells are it's EPS is, so PET is a shortened acronym for polyethylene, I believe. EPS is an acronym for another type of plastic that I can't remember off the top of my head, but it is the same. Number 6 is the same thing that styrofoam is made out of. So number 6 plastics as well as styrofoam both currently can go to Agilex and Tiger. There are some concerns in the state and in the county about chemical recycling, which is what Agilex does, and whether or not chemical recycling is the best thing for the environment because of how that material is processed. And I'm not here to say that it is good or bad because it is not my area of expertise, but I know that's part of why Washington County is reluctant to add styrofoam and number 6 clamshells to the list right now, because the only market for it is that chemical recycling. So at this time, the only clamshells we would take would be the number 1s. And, the reality is there's going to be some other numbers mixed in there, but they won't be recycled. If they are, they will be eventually thrown away once they get to the processor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
Yeah, thanks, Kristen, for the presentation. Very informative. And like Kate, I didn't realize that batteries were able to be recycled. I just want to make sure I have it right. We put them in the Ziploc bag inside the red glass bin.
Yes, exactly. Okay. And we have asked people that if they have glass in their bin to make sure they're on top, that way it doesn't accidentally, end up with the glass. And I am hearing from this that we clearly have more work to do on our education here. And to be honest, we put it in the inserts in the bills because we could control which of our customers it went to, and because the battery program was rolled out in some of our jurisdictions and not others. We haven't done a full-blown like social media blast and putting it in, our newsletter that goes out and things like that. So we were dragging our feet a little bit on the full-blown education because of that complication, but it is coming soon. So hopefully
I do the auto bill pay, so I don't even get log in.
Exactly.
So do I. I didn't know either.
But that's great. I will have batteries out for you next week.
I think everyone from this council probably will. And Mike, right? And our attendants, whatever, everyone here tonight will anyway. Any other questions for Kristen? Smart.
Not a question. I just want to say thank you. Great efforts here. Like we all know, we're taking care of the earth while we're still here on earth and we're not moving to Mars yet. We might as well take care of it so that way to take care of us. So great program trying to take care of the batteries. I mean, again, people don't know what to do with them. They just try to get rid of them some way, somehow. But again,
Right.
I appreciate the efforts and thank you for the brief today. Great
Thank
job.
you.
Thank you, Smart. All right, I think anyone else? We'll let Kristen go and enjoy her evening tonight. We sure appreciate you coming and discussing this with us, and it was very informative. We all learned something, so thank you. And we'll look forward to the full presentation once you guys work everything through with Washington County.
Great. Thank you,
All
everybody.
right, thank you. Have a good night. All right, moving on to number B, National Community Development Week is April 11th through April 15th. So we are to discuss and read the proclamation. Has everyone had a chance to read it? I can't, let's see.
I can bring it up if you want.
Yeah, we bring it up and share it because I can't,
Yeah, let me
my
see if I
attachment's
can-
not working.
Let me see if I can share a screen really quick. This is it. You guys have the proclamation up now?
There it is. Perfect.
I can't see the screen itself, but hopefully you guys can see it.
Do we need to do an actual first reading?
Well,
do you want us
typically
just to
with this,
discuss
I can just read the proclamation. We
Okay.
support community development block grant applicants and the funding for such, and
You're
we
here.
are an active participant. So if you'd like, I'll just read the proclamation and we can move on, and
Yep.
you guys can vote
do
to
it.
adopt it, and then we'll be good. Okay, so the proclamation for National Community Development Week, April 18th through April 22nd, 2022. Whereas the week of April 18th through April 22nd, 2022 has been designated as National Community Development Week by the National Community Development Association to celebrate the Community Development Block Grant Program. And I'm losing my page, hang on. And the Home Investment Partnership, HOME, HOME program. And whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program provides annual funding and flexibility to local communities to provide decent, safe, and sanitary housing, a suitable living environment, and economic opportunities to low and moderate income people. And whereas the Home Investment Partnership, HOME program provides funding to local communities to create decent, safe, affordable housing opportunities for low-income persons. Nationally, over 1 million units of affordable housing have been completed using home funds. And whereas over the program's history, our community, King City, has received a total of $1,036,426 in community development block grant funds. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the city of King City designates the week of April 18th through April 22nd, 2022 as National Community Development Week in support of these two valuable programs that have made tremendous contributions to the viability of the housing stock, infrastructure, public services, and economic vitality of our community. Be it further resolved that this community urges Congress and the administration to recognize the outstanding work being done locally and nationally by the Community Development Block Grant Program and the Home Investment Partnership Program by supporting increased funding for both programs in fiscal year 2023.
Perfect. So we have long supported the CBD Community Development Block Grant, but CDBG, there we go. And Micah currently serves on that committee. If anyone is unclear exactly what they do, I encourage you offline to reach out to Micah and he can explain it in glory to you. But essentially it is how HUD dollars make their way from the federal government into King City and other regional areas, right? With that, Mike, what do you need from us? Do you need a adoption? We just read and discuss?
I think just a motion to put forward the week of April 18th through April 22nd as Community Development Block Grant and support the proclamation.
I so entertain such a motion if anyone,
Moved.
okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
That's unanimous. I have 7.
Wonderful. One thing, Micah, if you can take back to the CDBG is pre-COVID, during that week, I was asked to participate in a reading I did an event at the library as part of that week. And if there's any events that are happening this year, I'd be more than happy to volunteer for them. So it was a children's book reading, and it was kind of on fair housing. It was a fair housing book. So if
Yeah,
there's anything, Mhm.
we don't have, there's nothing scheduled that's been announced for this year. I think we're still in a little bit of a
Yeah.
COVID mentality as far as large gatherings. So
Yeah. maybe next year. So.
hopefully.
All right, moving on. So now we come to Planning Commission interviewing, reviewing, and or possibly appointing the position. So here, Mike, how do you want to so we have Mike Myers with us. Good evening, Mike. Welcome. Mike is our sole applicant. So we still have another position open. I think we should, in my opinion, I think we discussed tonight with Mike Myers, who's here with us, and then assuming, well, whatever, then we'll take next steps for the other vacancy later. So Mike Weston, how do you envision doing this right now?
So there's a couple paths there. I think we have Mr. Myers here who qualifies as a candidate. He resides in the urban growth boundary area and does have a vested interest in our community and the future of our community. So in my opinion, he does satisfy the requirements for appointment to a planning commissioner. You do have one applicant, he applied. So I think in all fairness, you give him a shot, but that'd be my recommendation. The other, if the council decides that they don't want to go with Mr. Myers, they can reject all applicants and reopen. That would be another opportunity. Or you could appoint Mr. Myers and extend the application period until filled. And that would be what I would recommend, is the latter of that, where we go ahead and affirm Mr. Myers to Planning Commission and then keep the other appointment open until filled.
And Mike, I concur with you. I think, and it's hard having two Mikes. So Mike Weston, I concur with what you're saying. I think Mike Meyer, excuse me. Right, you've applied many times. Every time you haven't been appointed, we've asked you to reapply, and so twice. There we are. So I think it's only fair that we that we move forward with discussion of your appointment here tonight. So I know there are council members who have questions. So Mike, put you in the hot seat and let's kind of discuss. I won't take the floor up, so I'll reserve my questions for the end, but who has questions? So has everyone had a chance to review, or if not is familiar with Mike, then I guess take a quick chance to review his application now if you haven't done so. Otherwise, let's open it up for questions to Mike Meyer. I should say welcome, Mike, right? As always, you're typically here, but.
Councilor Moore.
Hi, Mike. Nice to see you. You said you had applied twice, and I thought that it was more than that. So
this is the second time.
Oh, okay. So thank you for being really consistent over the past few years, coming to all the council meetings and being involved wherever you can. That's super appreciated from any community member. So, that has for sure not gone unnoticed by most of us. The last time that you applied, we had multiple candidates. And one of the things that we talked to you about was potential conflict of interest. And so I just want to go over that again quickly so that we can kind of get it on the record for posterity's sake, for everyone to hear. So I'm going to read from our municipal code, the conflict of interest part that applies to planning commissioners. And then you can just speak to that for a minute, because and the reality is with anybody on the planning commission, there could be something that comes up that they need to recuse themselves from. So this says, a member of the planning commission shall not participate in any commission proceeding or action in which any of the following has a direct or substantial financial interest. And then there's a list. So any of the following is the member or the spouse, brother, sister, child, parent, father-in-law, mother-in-law, any business in which the member is then serving or has served within the previous 2 years, or any business in which the member is negotiating for or has an arrangement or understanding concerning prospective partnership or employment. Any actual or potential interest shall be disclosed at the meeting of the commission where the action is being taken. And I think moving forward with any planning commission appointment, this is an important thing to kind of go over with everyone, because I would hate to appoint someone and then all of a sudden your hands are tied, like with the first ask. So would you just let us know how you feel about that, if you're comfortable just stepping aside if a conflict arises?
Sure. I mean, if a conflict arises, of course, I'd recuse myself from that, consideration or whatever's being reviewed at that time. But it's my understanding as a planning commissioner that you make recommendations, you don't make decisions. And so I think as a group, there's seven planning commissioners, and I would be the only one that would be west of the mobile home court. And that being said, I think that's important to have someone representing the expansion area, future King City residents, and the people that are here now throughout Rivermead and my community off around 150th, that there's a voice at the table when it comes to planning. So in terms of personal gain, I think I made it quite clear that I have no intention of selling my property. I think I've made that abundantly clear to everyone. That I'm not looking to sell like everyone west of 150th, as far as I know. So I'm not looking for any financial gain. You all know my history as far as my family being here. 1967, I was walking the streets of King George holding the hand of my great grandparent. And I hope that one day, I'm a grandparent now, but hopefully one day I'll be holding the hand of my great grandchild coming full circle and doing the same thing. So I have a very vested interest in making sure that King City plans and develops and grows in a manner that, creates livability for everyone, including myself, where I want to stay. It's not an ideal situation for me to be landlocked around, with apartment buildings and townhomes and whatnot surrounding me. But I made a decision that this is my home and this is where I want to be. And as a result, I want the community to develop in a manner that wants me to stay. So I don't think you could say, that I think everyone in the community has a interest in the community. And I don't view my interest as being any different than anybody else's. I just happen to have a piece of property out here. And again, I'm not trying to make any decisions or have any motivation for financial gain. So if you have additional questions regarding that, then go right
I
ahead.
just have a follow-up, and I've talked to you about this, and I know that you don't, and I appreciate that. The way this is worded, you would need to recuse yourself from any commission proceeding or action, which would possibly include family members as well. If you had any family members that were looking to develop their land or sell their property too. So that would just be something to keep an eye on if that happened.
Right. Understood.
Other questions? Smart.
Again, thank you, Mike. I know it's been, you've been coming to the meetings and without regarding wanting to be part of a community where you live is to participate, right? Discussion, be part of planning, be part of whatever it is that's going on. And that's what I did when I moved here to King City back in 2009. I came to the King City meetings. I wanted to know what's going on. I participated. I went to the planning commission meetings when I had the time or a chance to do so. And I tried to see what is being discussed, because when I moved here back in 2009, I'm on Fisher. There was no development across on the other side, you know. And then from what we heard, a lot of changes started happening. We're told, oh, the little kind of little forest, if you want, if you call it, across the street was going to be reserved for the animals, the deers and everything. And then all of a sudden we saw it being torn down. And then it was a challenge for us, you know. At that point, I really had a little bit of hard time saying, oh, why not tell us what it is that's going on? That way we're prepared for it, right? So my question to you, you're over there at the future development that's coming up, and we've been sharing everything that is planned out, and we've been discussing it openly. We've invited the community. We've held a number of meetings, a number of open discussions. So where would you see your stand when it comes to the time for us to share with the community what the plan is moving forward? How would you, what side of the fence would you be kind of looking from or talking from?
Well, if I understand the question correctly, I realize that development is coming. It sounds like you didn't realize that when you moved in. And back, 30 years ago, I wouldn't have envisioned this happening here, just as you weren't envisioning it happening in that short time span that you were involved in. But I have come to the conclusion, realization, I should say, that it's happening. And there's nothing that I can do about it as an individual, but what I can try to do as an individual is have some, I like to participate in the planning of the community to make sure that it's planned in a manner that creates livability and a desire to remain here in this community. So that's vitally important to me and my family. My daughter, lives here just built a house for her 2 years ago here. And our intention is to stay here. And we want a community that, we want to live in. So we've made that decision that we're staying. We're not cutting and running. So I want to be involved in that process. And I've done everything that I possibly can. In terms of being on the SAC, I'm involved in CPO. I've gone to all the community meetings. We organized tours. We thought that the tours are vitally important to all of you to come and see. And it took a while to get that going, but I think once you all were there and came out and saw, the properties and the ravines and whatnot, I think it provided some insight that I thought was really important. And I'll continue to do that, offer my insight from my long, time here in this area and what I see from my perspective, and that's looking east when everybody else is looking west. There's 7 counselors, 6 of you live in Edgewater. And Lori lives in King City proper. And you have no
water.
What's that?
I do not live in Edgewater, just for the record.
Oh, you don't? Oh, I thought you did. I'm sorry.
Close.
Okay. And then, I would be the only representative, basically, like I said, west of the mobile home court. And, if you involve a broad segment of your community in the planning process, it's going to provide, the public with a sense of ownership over the plan. And I think that if you have my representation, it's going to build another layer of trust. And that there's somebody at the table that represents the people that live in this area.
Thank you.
Micah?
I don't have a question, but because I think we've had an opportunity to talk on a number of occasions, and you've participated quite a lot in the public forums that we've had. But I just wanted to thank you for continuing to participate and being part of this, and for your desire to be part of this growth and to provide your perspective. So I just wanted to thank you for continuing to put your name forth.
Absolutely. Thank you, Micah. And, I'll just add that, if I don't get selected for the position, I'm going to continue to be involved. So you can't get rid of me. I'll be here in whatever capacity it takes to make sure that the community gets developed in a manner that everybody can be proud of.
Thank you. Mark?
Yeah, again, just kind of echoing, thanks for applying, Mike. I was a little surprised we only got one applicant, but
I'm disappointed myself.
I'm very disappointed.
yeah. Just kind of one question. I know there's a lot of, and you probably answered it in your application, but just a lot of tough decisions coming up. There's going to be a lot of, discussion. How do you feel making, maybe it could be a tough decision or maybe not a popular one? Are you comfortable in doing things like that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's in the position of planning commissioner, you have to weigh the needs of the community over the needs of the few or the individual, right? So it's broad-based, and I think it would be very apparent if there were anything presented that would be focused toward an individual or a group. I think it would be very apparent to the group if that were the case. And if that's being done, then you shouldn't be in the position. And I understand what the requirements are. There's a long list of requirements of the position, right? There's responsibility, coming to meetings prepared, reviewing the documents, reviewing everything that is sent to you before a meeting so that you're not scrambling, trying to figure out what it is you're making a decision on or what you're supposed to be commenting on. So you be prepared. You have a responsibility to the community as a whole. Integrity, working, with the other members of the council. You may not agree on everything, but you've got to listen to everyone and make a respectful decision based on all the information at hand. And there's a lot of responsibility with the position.
Thanks, Mike.
Good.
Thank you. Lori?
Yeah, just to follow up on the other counselors, you come across as a very reasonable person. I appreciate that. And I think that we can always use different perspectives on the council and on the commission. And I think you bring that. So I appreciate your stepping up and applying for this position.
Thank you, Lori.
All right, it's my turn. Thank you, Lori. I didn't want to cut you off. Did you have another comment or anything? Okay, thank you. All right, so Mike, I have always appreciated your honesty and your directness. We have always had good conversations. I think, right? It's well documented. You and I have had some blips over the summer last year, but I think you and I worked out our issues well. We sat down together and broke bread and right. And I really appreciated the efforts that you and kind of your neighbors did in getting those tours together and getting us out to see the site. I think that was essential, right? So I don't have concerns. It's more kind of a discussion that I'd like to have. One, I think it's imperative that we have voices, right? None of us want to create an echo chamber, right? So we want to have lots of different voices. I think it's important we have voices from Rivermead, from afar, all of those at the table. I think for me, if I just think through you sitting on the planning commission and compare it to, I don't want to call it advocacy work, right? But maybe if can we call it your outreach work over kind of getting over kind of your concerns and your neighbors' concerns regarding the master planning, the role in the planning commission, right, is going to have to shift that outreach work to you won't be able to do that any longer with the council, right? There really is supposed to be a separate process for the planning commission to evaluate and do their part of what they need to do, and the council is separated from that, right? So once we start getting back into master planning, are you comfortable maintaining your roles and shifting your advocacy role or outreach role? I don't know how to really call it. I don't want to be offensive, because I know when I called, I know I made a lot of people angry when I said opposition, right? So I don't want to use those terms, but right, whatever we want to put as terminology for the outreach that you did right now, if you became a member of the planning commission, it would no longer be appropriate to have those efforts with any of the council members, right? For example, regarding the master planning process, except through the official chains of that process itself, right? So we can't have outside of it. So are you comfortable limiting your role to that? Is that it's a very inarticulate way, but I think there's pros and cons. If I look at it and think, oh, I think Mike would be a great addition to the planning commission, but then the con, I guess, is then you have to step down from some of the other work that you're doing, right? In a way. Does that make sense?
It does. I guess I have to understand what the relationship is between the planning commission and the council then, because does the planning commission not work together with the council? Or does the planning commission, if I'm understanding you correctly, the planning commission operates independently and they have no lines of communication between the planning commission and the council? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, I mean, right, lines of communicate, right? I mean, we all know each other, right? So, but no, there isn't a process by which planning commission, it would be inappropriate for a planning commissioner in their capacity as a planning commissioner to come and discuss with the council member whatever has been submitted to the planning commission at that time, right? So there shouldn't be any, and Mike, maybe this is a better place for you to step in here, but Mike Weston.
I don't think there's anything wrong with a planning commissioner talking with the counselor. That's fine. The planning commissioners are appointed by the council, and sometimes we will have like joint sessions where we have the planning commission and the city council in the same room. That doesn't necessarily mean that they all have to agree. Sometimes the planning commission will disagree, or maybe they'll render a decision and then the applicant or somebody appeals it to the city council, and the city council has to render a decision on appeal, and maybe they overturn the planning commission decision. It is just an independent body that works on planning objectives. So right now we have our master plan going on, the transportation system plan. My only concern, Mike, is that you actually have property in the area that we're planning. So I think that there's a bit of a conflict of interest on that stuff. That would probably you'd probably need to recuse yourself on anything that involves your property or the property of your family members. But you could still provide useful insights to, the general layout of the town center or neighborhood kind of flows, things of that nature. But I think you just need to avoid anything that has or can be tied back to you or your relatives or family in that particular area. But you should be able to participate on any of the subdivisions that come through, any kind of developments that are proposed or submitted by application, and those are all fine. So.
Okay, well, I think that I've pretty much made my position clear on all of the points regarding the master planning process and the transportation system plan. And I've thought about this myself too. What would be my role as far as, advocating versus being on the commission. And I think that I can probably do the most good being on the commission, knowing that I've already made my positions clear to all of you. Jamie, we sat down for a long time. Kate, you and I sat down for a long time. I sat down with Mike Weston for quite a while as well. I mean, hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe each. So, you know, I've made my points, my points clear. And I just think that I could probably do more good on the commission than being an advocate at this point.
And I will say, one of the things that I've always appreciated about you, and I've said this before on record, and I've said this to you personally, is that, right, even if we disagree, you've always been respectful, and you have always had the ability to discuss the position rather than, right. So I really appreciate it. And I think that's what we need. We need diversing opinions that can come together and actually talk and get to the best solution and the best plan and the best vision forward, right? And again, right, we don't want an echo chamber. So my last, and I bring this up because it's similar to myself, which is you hold many hats in the community, right? You're heavily involved in CPO. If you become on planning commission, and then I know that you do lots of volunteer work outside of this, and you do other things. So just speak to a little bit about, right, ensuring that in the various roles that you maintain, that you're going to, right, be clear and transparent about what that role is, right? So as a planning commissioner, right, my expectation as mayor of any planning commissioner, right, if they do other extracurricular boards, that when they attend, so for example, for you, if you attend a CPO meeting, right, you're not going to be attending the meeting as planning commissioner or representative of the city. You have to maintain that role, right, separately. And so that's it's, I don't want to bring up it as necessarily a concern, but just I want to confirm that you agree that right, that is kind of what your expectation and your expectation would be as well, right?
Right. So I'm vice chair of the CPO. This next meeting on March 28th, Kathy Stallcamp was not able to be there, so I'm running that meeting. The agenda is set,
Be there.
and Jamie, we have you as a speaker to just basically represent, you know, or speak about your vision and goals for the city as the newly elected mayor, appointed mayor. And, you know, so there's not going to be a free-for-all discussion where I'm going to start discussing planning commission business. You know, if I am asked to be a speaker as a representative of the planning commission, I don't know if that happens, but that would be, of course, a decision for the council and for the planning commission to decide whether or not that's appropriate or not. And I don't think that I would. As a vice chair of the CPO, I wouldn't go and speak as a commissioner. We would let some other commissioner do that, right? And my understanding is there's probably some confidential information that probably shouldn't be discussed to the general public. I know that you have, I don't know if your executive sessions involve planning commissioners or not, but I know that, you know, those are confidential discussions. And so I understand that those are the limits. I'm on the SAC, and hopefully I can continue to be on the SAC. I know that there are some counselors that are on the SAC, right? I can't remember who exactly, but Kate, okay, you're on the SAC. I don't know, is anybody on the TAC from the Planning Commission or from, okay, Micah?
Is.
So there is representation from the city on these committees, so hopefully I can continue to be on the SAC, and I can advocate as a SAC member, but separating the Planning Commission position from my role as an advocate on the SAC. Does that make sense?
It does. I think that, Mike, that might, we'll have to kind of look at that, I think, but. Are you thinking, did you want to?
Frozen, Jamie. You were very still for a moment.
No, I was like, what? Yeah. So.
Yeah, you're asking me this one. Yeah.
Well, I think we can punt it and look into it. Let you know. That, you know, but regardless, going back, that we'll punt that question, Mike. But I think regardless, I appreciate what you're saying, right? That
I think, Mayor Fender, if I could just want to say, even if he is a citizen, and he's and there's a presentation to the planning commission, he can recuse himself, hop off the dais, go down and then talk at the stand, so he has that right. And I would view it very similar to that, but I would say it is it's a thin line. So we just have to be careful on how we proceed and do things. And we all understand that we live a public life here and for public service, and we also have our private lives as well that we try to advocate for. So I think we all can understand and recognize that.
exactly. So that I think you answered the question well, Mike. Those are the only kind of two areas of discussion that I wanted to have with you. I think that you'll make a great addition to the planning commission, and I appreciate that you reapplied, right? I also, like Kate, I thought you had applied a few more times. So the fact that it's only two, I mean,
I don't think I would have applied a third time. I got a certain, ego that I have to maintain.
Right. Well, exactly. I get that. But okay. Last comment, Kate.
I would like to move to appoint Mike Meyer to the Planning Commission.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Oh, yeah, I would second that, but we also want to keep that one open, right? For other applicants?
Yes.
Correct. So
Keep it open until filled.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Would I be filling the Manellis 6/1/23 expiration date position?
Yeah,
Oh.
so I need clarification on the seat and then the clarification on the motion for the open seat.
Okay. Okay. So then I guess, Kate, do you want to amend your,
Yes, I
we have a motion and a second, but I think you can amend since it's,
Can you,
I will withdraw my motion.
thank
Okay.
you.
perfect.
Okay, somebody put it all out there for me, and then I will so move it.
Okay. So.
Ronnie, why don't you call out the
Yeah,
seat?
Ronnie, you do it because it's on the agenda. I don't have it right in front of me.
Okay, give me just a second.
All right. Well, I guess that's it, Mike. Sorry. You're
I
done.
tried.
That was it. You tried. You tried. We're done. All right, moving on. No, I'm kidding.
Technical difficulties.
So I guess, yeah, let's see, Lori Petrie's expired on June 22. And mine was through June of 23.
So Lori's would have expired this June then.
Correct.
Okay.
But then we just we reappoint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not,
So we'll just move for it would be Mike Manellis's seat.
Mark.
yeah.
Mark, I'm sorry. Mark.
What are you mixing us up here?
There's too many M's. Yeah. All right.
Okay, Ronnie, do those have like seat numbers, or is there any designation, or do we just,
There is.
Mike knows, Mike's like, yes,
Oh,
there.
I think it's seat 6, right?
Okay,
So no, it will be seat 2.
Seat 6. Sorry.
All right. Here we go.
all right. I would like to move to appoint Mr. Mike Meyer to seat number 2 in the Planning Commission for King City, and also continue to accept applicants to the open seat until filled.
Ooh, excellent motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor, raise your hand. Aye.
I have 7.
Whoa, Mike, you got a unanimous. Whoa, congratulations. All
Thank
right,
you, Mike.
welcome to the Planning Commission, Mike.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
We're looking forward to working with you as well. Oh, Smart. Oh, you're on mute. Oh, Smart, you are on mute.
Oh, I was just saying
Yeah.
congratulations.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Smart.
All right.
And
Now,
before you go, just know that, and it's a reminder for all the counselors as well, that the SEC ethics filings are
Oh.
due here by like mid-April. So make
Yep.
sure
Already
you.
done.
All right.
That was on my mayor's report.
All right.
You beat me to it.
And Mike, now that you are an appointed planning commissioner, that means you get to do it as well.
That's right.
Okay, so is that just a form to fill out or?
So,
We
so
will-
Mike,
we'll send it to
I
you.
will get with you here either this week or next week and kind of walk you through the process and everything. There's a lot to learn.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ron.
Wonderful. All right, moving on now to discussing American Red Cross blood drive.
I'm gonna let Ronnie deal this. He
Alright.
he looked up a bunch of them around and tried to jump on and see how we might participate. So Ronnie was able to find a bunch of them in our area. And Ronnie, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So I am, hold on, I'm trying to, I have too many screens open right now.
But I think there's I think we can offer a site, you know, in King City. The city property, we don't have a lot of property, but we do have like possibility down at the community park, or we could talk with the folks at the plaza maybe. But Ronnie was able to find a bunch in and around the area as well.
Well, and it's great because they have like a mobile truck. And so if they came, I think a park would be an excellent option because they could just park it down there and, you know, that could be one, but, or we do one up, see if the KCCA would be willing to let us have it in their parking lot and do maybe half the day or, you know, 10 to 12 in the parking lot and then, you know, 2 to 4 down at the park or back to back or.
Yeah, I
All
think they'd be open to that.
So can everybody see that?
Yeah.
All right, so this is what I pulled up and for our area for the 97224 zip code. So we do have quite a bit that are happening. I also put on here. There are about hosting, so there are certain ways that we can do it. So it's really up to you guys what you want to do. Do we want to put on our own, like Mike was saying, and Jamie, we can have it at the park. We can have it. We can move the police cars over to the KCCA parking lot and park a bus out here in front, or same thing, you know, bus over at KCCA. I mean, there's all kinds of options that we can definitely do.
Mhm.
It's really up to the council to direct staff on what the next steps or what you guys want us to do.
Let's hear from other counselors. What do you guys think?
I think we should put it in a high visibility spot. The park would probably limit any kind of drive-by blood donations. So maybe something at City Hall or in the larger parking lot if KCCA would want to partner.
You know, I also like the idea. I think our traditional city is well familiar with City Hall. I'm not convinced that the newer areas of King City are very familiar with City Hall. So I also like the idea of directing, you know, I like that idea, Ronnie, of putting it where the police cars typically go and directing people to, you know, City Hall to do it. Because I think then you can kind of see it from I-5 a little bit or driving past, and then maybe that would get us some visibility within kind of New King City. Other counselors' thoughts?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Micah, go ahead. You have your hand up. Ronnie, can you take that? I can only see. Will you stop sharing screen?
So
Micah?
I think I would actually suggest maybe where if we can get permission to do it actually where they do the fireworks stand or have across grocery outlet, because that is a more high trafficked area than in front of City Hall or KCCA or the park, as far as catching more of a large population coming through and more visible from 99.
Great question. When they do the bus, and do they have to have is it walk-in? Is it appointments? What are they doing right now with COVID?
Right now it's by appointments, and you have to have you have to guarantee so many pints of blood. from what I read really quickly.
Okay.
So it's kind of, I
So
think
maybe the highest visibility point.
Councilor Paulson is correct. If we put it out over there by the shopping center, they will have no problem getting people to come down.
Right. Except they'll just get a whole bunch of people wanting to donate blood on the spot and then be turned away though, right? Because
Well, right now I have no idea with
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
think they are
I
taking.
guess the
walking-
location, first of all, I guess let's just decide, right? Are we all in agreement that we want to do a blood drive? I think that's the first. Are we hands up? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So then I think Ronnie, maybe the question back to, so we want to do a blood drive. Then the next question I think for in organizing it is, do they take walk-ups, right? If they take walk-ups, I like what Micah suggests in getting it out over by Grocery Outlet and maybe working with Grocery Outlet to do it. If they don't take walk-ups and it's by appointment only, maybe it makes the most sense to put it at City Hall then, because while we want visibility, if it's appointment only, then we don't want a ton of people just showing up to be kind and volunteering to give blood. Does that make sense? So and then Ronnie, so what else, what other information do you need from us, or
That's it. I'll get more. I mean, you guys want to do it? Do you want me to just go find out?
Just do it, find out, let's soldier on, and then we can set it up. I think it's great.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion on that? Okay. All right, moving on. Chief Hapala. Before Ernie comes on, I think he's still with us, although his screen is totally black. Ernie, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I just say something real quick?
Sure.
So I was at City Hall the other day, and I had I don't want to say pleasure, but I think maybe honor of listening to a voicemail that was left for Lieutenant Sigler and Chief Hapala. And I think it's important to share with the council. Ernie, may I discuss, there's no name, but can I talk about that voicemail for a second?
Sure.
So Ernie and Chief Hapala and Lieutenant Sigler have, routinely do welfare checks on citizens in our community. And even after they come into contact with our citizens, they will continue to do welfare checks, even if that's kind of outside of, right? But they kind of schedule them and keep them on their radar, kind of our citizens that are really in need. And a gentleman left a voicemail thanking Ernie and thank you, Chief Hapala and Lieutenant Sigler for doing a welfare check, because when they showed up, he had a gun in hand and was in the process of imminently committing suicide. And Chief Hapala and Lieutenant Sigler saved his life. There's just no other way of putting it. They stopped him from committing suicide. They helped the gentleman get the services he needed. And then, however many days later, after receiving some mental health treatment, he called and left that voicemail. And it was a very moving and heartfelt voicemail, as you guys can imagine. But I just think it's really important to kind of share that and kind of honor the good work that they both did. So kudos to you guys, Ernie. I know that right, we don't get to share these things very often because they're personal and they are confidential, but you guys did an amazing job. So I just wanted to highlight that and say that here tonight. So with that, please give us your chief's report.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, and you're right. You probably never hear about it because I don't talk about those things
No, you
and
don't.
stuff. I'm one of those, but and it was great to hear somebody actually call up and appreciate the work that we did, because we did spend a little bit of time with him and stuff. So it's we're glad to see that he's headed in the right direction. So anyway, onto the report. So Officer Huffman, John Huffman, the new officer, is now out on his own. He just completed his FTEP. Today was his first day of being in the car by himself. So
Whoa.
he's ecstatic, didn't have the pressure of a coach, looking over his shoulder all the time. So we're confident and feel that, he's ready to move forward and have a long career with us. So we're glad to see that. So you'll see him day shift for about a month, and then he'll be moving on to nights.
Great.
So we have that, and I did 2 traffic studies. I don't think I've told everybody about. I might have said something individually. 2 traffic studies lately with King George. I don't have the ability to do the printouts yet. We had to do a licensing re-up with All Traffic Solutions, so I don't have the ability to give Ronnie the stuff to where you could see a printout of it. But basically, they were both on King George in different locations, far east and far west. And it's kind of like we always talked before. There's not as much of a problem as what some people make it out to be. Around King George and Prince Philip, 400 cars measured in 3 days. I had exactly 0 over the speed limit. The highest was 24. And then where there's a little more of an issue, and I'll agree with some people, is that King George near, just west of 116th on that straight stretch there was about 350 cars measured. I think I saw about 7 of the 350 that were over the limit, with the highest being 32 in the 25 zone there. So, a few cars, and honestly, I'm not able to access the pictures. It could have been an ambulance or a police car that was responding to something. And so until I know, I just don't know. And I just respond to the data that's there. So as far as that goes, we're there. Calls for service have been popping up a little bit, mainly in the morning time. We've had kind of an uptick in houseless people that have been hanging in mainly the plaza area. And so we've had to trespass a few people from businesses there and, get them to as much of the services that we have available. When it's warming up, the shelters kind of start to disappear, but we try to get them into, turn them into other directions, as far as, whether it's a food pantry or the awesome services they have in downtown Tigard with the laundry that they do once a week down there for free. Those sort of things that we try to get them towards. And that's about it. Any questions? Go ahead.
I know we had a citizen who had emailed to me about some concerns about some homelessness in our trail, kind of around the park area, in that kind of wetland reserve area. And I know you would take kind of Dave Runyon and yourself took a look at it and didn't really find activity of any kind of homeless camping in the woods back there. Is that any update on that? Is that correct? My understanding?
Yeah, we couldn't find any recent evidence of anything like that happening. And even the damage that was to some timber back in there was somewhat aged. Mm-hmm. And the stuff that Dave had seen before. And so then, like I said, we couldn't find any recent stuff. We know, I want to say my time warp kind of gets off a little bit, but a year ago, I know we had, a homeless youth that was living back in there that we had to deal with multiple times. I haven't seen him around in quite some time. And so, I don't know if that's remnants of it or if it's remnants of people that are there during the summertime and it's just stuff that's left over. And as well as I do, that canopy in there is really thick. Yeah. And it's difficult for sometimes the weather to get to some things. And so, what looks like it could be new is in fact not new. And so, yeah, we weren't able to find anything, but we always love to hear from people that do see stuff. Or the problem is we just don't get people don't call. And, you know, just things that we want to know, because those are livability issues, right? And so we want to be able to get out there and get something and get people on it as quick as we can. And now as we're starting to get back up to our staff numbers, and we're able to go ahead and do some proactive stuff instead of just being on defense, you know, we'll be able to get out there a little bit more. And it's something that we need to do, because as we start to work our way out west, you know, we're going to have a lot more trails to work. And so it's going to be something that everybody needs to get into.
Right. Great, thank you. Any other questions for Chief? All right, moving on to Mike's report.
Don't have a lot to report. I'll just try to cover what we have going for us. It looks like legislatively, you know, we applied for or we requested funding for 3 projects: restroom, trail, and Purple Line.
My
2 of those-
application was beautiful. It had
Right?
pictures, and the legislature still turned it down.
Yeah, so 2 of those are shot down. 1 is still alive. And it's no surprise, it's the joint one with King City and Clean Water Services. I think that, you know, Clean Water Services carries a certain weight with them, and there's also the environmental benefit of the recycled reuse water. So that's still floating, but that was like $2 million, and the others were like
The piddly little
500,
356,000 got rejected.
Right.
2 million still alive.
So the little low hanging fruit got rejected, but the big one's still out there floating. So fingers crossed, we'll see what happens. Other than that, we applied for the Metro Trails Grant, got our application in for that, for the West Side Trail segment, to do some planning and design for that segment of the trail. And that's the trail from Beef Bend to the Tualatin River. As you may be aware, the planning effort for the master planning is up and running once again. We finally got all the contracting scope and funding hashed out for alternative looks at the transportation network. There is a SAC and TAC scheduled for early April, I think April 6th and 7th. So then we will have the planning commission and a report to the city council after we have a chance to meet with those 2 bodies. Right now, I know that SCJ is working with 3J as the engineering. They're also working with the rest of the sub-consultants, David Evans, FCJ, I think, which is the finance group, and Marcy McNally's Herbsworks group, to look at what alternatives are going to be viable, as well as look at environmental impacts and things of that nature. So that is all going on underneath the surface right now. We have the draft transportation system plan has been received, but there was still some things in there that we felt were not ready for public consumption yet, because we haven't finished the east-west transportation alternatives yet. So the transportation system plan says this is where you need roads, bam, bam, bam. We are still looking at some of those things, so nothing that has been decided yet, even though the transportation system draft calls for those. So with that being said, I'm at a conference this week up in Skamania. So I'm remote and I don't have all my notes in front of me, but I think that's a good sum of where we're at and what to expect over the next month. We do have a work session coming up in that first Wednesday in April. Right now we have it scheduled from noon to 2. Hopefully I'll have some rough budget numbers. We're still trying to get our audit in, or try to get our audit numbers back from Polly Rogers. They had some staff turnover there throughout the year and over the pandemic, and they were running behind. And then the auditor who was working on our audit just took another job and handed it off to another auditor who is basically, I think, starting from scratch. So when we got an email from the new person in February asking the same questions that our previous auditor had asked back in like August and September. You know, it was a little disheartening. So we are still waiting for that to come in, and hopefully we'll get something from them soon and get an idea. The other thing that you should probably be aware of is that measure, I think it was measure 110, the marijuana measure, has reallocated funds that we used to receive. About 73% of the marijuana funds that we used to receive are now going to other causes. So I think schools and cities will see a shortfall in the amount of revenue they have over the next year. And it's estimated to be an impact of about, or a reduction of 73% of your overall revenues in those fronts. So that's going to be a big hit for us.
Right. I hate to wish for a whole bunch of more glaucoma, but you know, gotta make it up somehow.
But we do have Chalice is interested if we can figure out how to get them in.
See, I need to go there with you.
Yeah.
Mike, you have forgotten one important thing to announce today, which is what day it is.
Today is March 16th. It is my birthday.
There we go. Happy birthday,
Yay,
Mike.
happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would make us sing, but I don't want it on our YouTube channel. Well, happy birthday. Any questions for Mike? All right. Well, happy birthday. We'll go ahead into counselor's reports. So I will pick on Micah first.
Not a whole lot to report. We didn't have our traditional CDBG meeting this month. Instead, we had a meeting to brainstorm and discuss the qualities that we want to see in our next program manager for the group. As many of you might know, Jenny Proctor, who has been the program manager for that team for 25 years, I believe it is retiring this year. So it's she's been a great partner to work with. Really enjoy working with her, and we're going to miss her. But it's also opportunity for us to kind of inject some new blood into the group. So it's exciting time there.
Mike, are they doing any party or event for Jenny for her retirement?
I mean, nothing planned at this time. I think again, gathering.
Yeah. If they do anything, even if it's on Zoom, right? Make sure to invite me because
Will do.
She is so great. All right. Next is Mark. You're up at the top there.
Yep. Not a whole lot. Just we met with the owners of Al's Nursery. When was it? Was that 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think about that.
Just kind of discussed, and they want to do some projects on their own property, so they wanted to see what's going to happen, so they don't have to do anything twice. Kind of.
They're excited. They're excited.
No,
to
they
come
are.
into King City. Yeah. And it was I think their creative juices started flowing, and I think they're looking forward. You know, they even were joking they have to rebrand from the Sherwood Owls to King City Owls, and so once it's official, then we can look forward to that. And of course, I would love to have some type of fun event to
absolutely
to honor that change, right? But sorry, I jumped in with you because I was at that meeting, so I'm sorry.
That's fine. Yeah, that's all I had.
Okay, perfect. Next I see on my screen is Lori.
Unmute myself. So I got a couple of things. So I did attend the impact meeting in February. There was a presentation from the RTP project manager with an update on their first phase of research and results of an online survey that they had. And what it's merging as the project priorities are going to include equity, accessibility, and safety. And they see the need to focus on underserved areas, which I think we would agree with that. General feedback was that we aren't meeting carbon goals and that we need more community member feedback, which is what we're always looking for too. It was felt that we need to communicate and increase understanding of transportation definitions and the terms that we all use and the RTP itself. And then there was a Metro presentation on transportation trends. Interesting thing is that, as you would expect, there's been a drop in transit ridership. Telework is supposed to be strong in the short term. And what I found interesting was they said personal travel has been surpassed by delivery travel.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. So the last thing was interesting. So there's it was about the food scraps separation requirement policy that Metro. So Metro passed an ordinance in July of 2018 that was supposed to start in March of 2020, but was delayed by COVID. Now it's set to start phasing in the 31st of this month with large businesses to start. And by September of 2024, all businesses generating more than 250 pounds or about 1 60-gallon roll cart of food scraps per week will be required to separate their food scraps and keep them out of the landfill by composting, donation, or upstream prevention practices. But Washington County, all the counties and metros have information for businesses in their area. Washington County has a phone number and also a website. They've got good FAQs for businesses who are going to be impacted by this. I'm not sure if any of them are in our area, but it would, the school might be one, the retirement center might be one, the grocery stores. These people may be getting information about this and they may be impacted, but the smaller users it won't roll in until the September of 2024. So that was kind of the impact meeting.
I'm almost done. Oh.
And then I did meet with the 2 condo associations that I'm meeting with. King City Condos, their last meeting, they had to raise their dues by 22%. Not a popular decision because they have a lot of deferred maintenance that was just identified in their most recent reserve study. So that was unfortunate. Garden Villas is going to get ready to take care of their roofs and chimneys. They did have a request for us though, Garden Villas. So do everybody know where Garden Villas is? It's down the kind of far corner of the KCCA area. They're kind of on a line to people going through their area to get onto 131st heading north. So they had a request to us, and their request is they'd like to see if the city could help cut down on speeders coming through Garden Villas. And they're wondering if maybe we could add more stop signs at some of the intersections there. They're just, people are concerned. So anyway, I don't know what the process is for that. But if there's things that they could be doing, then, I could pass that on to them. So
Lori, I will say this really quick because sorry to interrupt. There are standards and warrants out of the state, ODOT, Oregon Department of Transportation, that regulate signs such as that, stop signs, placement. As it is in King City, we have found a number that are not compliant. So we had to modify one of the one such intersection over on St. James that was not compliant, and there are others that don't satisfy the warrants and should probably be looked at and reevaluated. But I think they kind of give us a pass on some of those, but we would have to look and see what kind of traffic flow is going through there, the numbers to justify the signal. So I would say no, but I would say that we already have an overabundance in some areas that we probably shouldn't be, and we just need to need to do a study before we put one in.
Right. No, there aren't very many in Garden Villas, but I can understand what you're saying. So obviously they're just asking. It's just a matter of education and letting them know what we can and cannot do. Simple as that. So yeah.
Which ones are asking? Sorry.
Garden Villas.
Yeah, which ones? Which intersections?
I didn't get into the specifics of that. I was talking more generically with the president. But if we want to get specific, then I'm sure they'd be happy to share that with you, and I could get that to you. So
Thanks.
And I think it would be interesting, Mike, if maybe Ernie could do a traffic and, do a speed test or whatever they call it there at that, maybe at some of those intersections too, so we can really see, right, how, right, speeding is always difficult because it tends to be people who are stationary, standing, looking at vehicles that are moving, and it's hard, a car going 20 miles an hour when you're standing still actually seems like it's going quite fast. And so I think, there's a lot of times a perception of speeding when actually there's not. But I think getting good data is always the start of having the conversation, right? So maybe if Ernie could work with you, Lori, on pinpointing where, and then he can put the speed test machine, which has some fancy name that I don't know. So.
right. Yeah, that it makes sense from what you're saying and also what Mike is saying, and that what Ernie would need is to have a conversation with the folks in Garden Villas to see what particular intersections they seem to think are being an issue. And there aren't, there's cross streets there, and I know that people do rollings, just kind of roll through because there isn't any stop. But if you don't stop in some of those areas, you could run people over. Right. So I can talk to them and get back with some, we can maybe have a little meeting or whatever. I can talk to the folks there and get a kind of a list. Hopefully it's a short list of just maybe 1 or 2 intersections that they're most concerned about, so we can start from that. So yeah, happy to do that. So bring that to Mike, and we'll start with Mike, and then we can talk with Rennie. Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Smart.
Yes, Jamie, I don't have much to share today. But I just wanted to draw the attention to everyone. The flyers or the bulletins that come from City of Tigard, the water flyers that everyone gets in the mail, has a lot of information. I'll encourage residents and everyone to not just throw it in the recycle. It gives much information about what's going on with water. It tells you about emergency repairs or what numbers to call for bill or for emergencies or what have you. I mean, it's full of information on the front and on the back side. So I'll encourage people to just not throw it in the trash and try to at least read it. I read it because it's been cool. When I go to the meetings, some of this information is already something I've seen out of this, and then it really helps to stay in tune with what is going on. So I'll encourage everyone to try to read those and maybe keep a copy for them, just for the numbers, in case you have a problem, who to contact and all of that. So I don't have anything to report from any meetings this time. So thank you.
Thanks. Kate?
I don't have any reports today.
Okay. Shauna?
I don't have too much either. My Board of Commissioners meeting for WACA is actually tomorrow. So I will have something to report maybe at our next meeting.
All right.
That's all.
You. Perfect. So I don't have too much to report. There's a large conference going on in Washington, D.C. Most of the mayors of the largest cities are there. So many of my committee meetings have been rescheduled. I think a couple things that we need to decide. One, I believe we are planning on our April meeting, as a reminder, is going to be a hybrid meeting. So for those who want to remain on Zoom, please do so. For those who want to come into council chamber for the April meeting, please do so. Mike, are we planning on doing a few of the in-person events that we need to do? We have some police awards that we need to give in person. We have the commemorative plaques for Councilor Platt and Mayor Gibson, and of course our official proclamation of Gibson Day. We will do that at our April meeting as well. So Ronnie and I will continue to work on that. I want to circle back around just quickly on Ridwell to kind of give an update. So it was important to me after Ridwell, after the representative from Ridwell came to our last meeting, that we reached out to Pride and got Pride's perspective on all of this. And so tonight it was kind of came out of those discussions that that I had with Mike and Mike had with Pride. One of the issues that we are facing, because I know that there's several community members. In fact, I just received another one, an email today, reaching out, asking, are we going to get Ridwell in King City? One of the issues that we have a franchise agreement with Pride, and right now the definition of solid waste, right, is within our franchise agreement with Pride, and therefore it's confusing on how we can kind of get around that, right? Other cities have, and that's kind of the impetus. Washington County and Ridwell are kind of in kind of a legal matter right now to try to work out the definition and wording of some of these issues. Okay, so for us, we are continuing. I think I've heard from most of you that, right, we are interested in having Ridwell come. We're going to put that discussion on once we can have a little bit more informed discussion about it, right? So there's too many moving pieces right now to put it to a vote or to kind of discuss it. So we're kind of still fact gathering. So I just say that as those meetings and those conversations are continuing to happen. I have made some progress with finding out the ownership of the zombie house, which is very complicated, but basically I'm continuing to reach out. I haven't yet had a conversation with the owner representative, but my ask is going to be that they either board up all the windows and paint the graffiti on the zombie house, or they allow me to organize, or us to organize, a community event where volunteers do that. So I know that's outside of King City. It's just across the street, but it irks me to no end that the children of King City have to see that zombie house day in, day out, and have done so for the last 20 years. So it is my personal mission to either get that damn thing torn down or boarded up and looking pretty. Maybe we can paint a mural on it or something. So I will continue to kind of discuss that. Mike, was there anything else that I needed to bring up? I believe going back to hybrid, we did that. I think the state of the city, we are going to do it again in June. So, and we are going to have our work session, and we will have likely an executive session at the next meeting. So we'll keep you informed of that, but I'll be able to meet with all of you. I had my first mayor's morning. The last Saturday of every month, I am going to be at coffee time in King City from 10 to 11:30, I believe. Let me look at my flyer. But
9 to 10:30.
Sorry?
9 to 10:30.
9 to 10:30. Thank you so much. So the more flyers are circulating. At the last one, I had my first one last month. In attendance was my dad, my stepmom, my husband, my children, my best friends, I should say, and a candidate who's interested in reaching out to the citizens of King City. So hopefully, as word gets out, it will be more than just my little crew. In the most important news of the day, Frankie, come here. I have spent I've had to sit here with his. So this is Mr. Frankie. And I just had to show him, we just adopted him. So he officially is we'll call him the first dog of King City. My other dog, she's a little too just crazy. So she can't be the first dog of King City. So here's the little first dog of King City now. This is Frankie. All right, with that, I don't have anything else. Anyone have anything for the good of the order? All right.
I would like to mention, if you haven't tried Gorilla Donuts yet,
oh,
you've got to. like first thing tomorrow morning, head down there by Grocery Outlet. They're delicious and nice people, and spread the word.
Yep, we go far too often, far too much. So, all right. Well, Mike, look at this. Do you see we're early again? As a birthday present to you, we are going to adjourn again early. Everyone was so worried when I became mayor that our meetings were going to last until 2 a.m. But here we are, efficient. So,
Should I make a motion to adjourn?
all right.
I
Do I hear a second? I see Smart is going to second, or who seconded?
I think Smart was first.
All right. Well, then all in favor, say aye.
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 And with that, Mike Meyer, welcome, and everyone have a great night. We'll see you
Welcome,
again
Mike.
soon. All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Goodbye.